Today there is a lot of news from the Kupiansk direction. After a period of reduced activity, Russian forces have once again intensified their offensive operations across multiple vectors in this direction. This shift follows a failed offensive in the Liman region, which resulted in the collapse of the Russian bridgehead there. Rested and regrouped, the Russian troops are now concentrating their efforts on Kupiansk. According to Kharkiv Oblast head Oleh Synehubov, Russian forces periodically focus on different sectors along the Kupiansk-Svatove-Kreminna line to identify weaknesses in the Ukrainian defenses. Their primary focus is on the Kyslivka and Kotliarivka areas, both southeast of Kupiansk. In addition, Ukrainian military observer Konstantin Mashevets reported that elements of the Russian 47th Tank Division completed their regrouping from Liman to Kupiansk and pointed out that most units of the 47th Tank Division are now deployed in positions close to Yahidne. Following more than a month of positional battles, Russian forces resumed their offensive operations towards Kyslivka. After several days of intense bombardment, Russian troops secured control over the elevated areas along the railway, leading to the capture of the first houses in Kyslivka. Ukrainian officers reported that Russian forces reinforced their assault units with additional equipment and fresh convict recruits, renewing their regional operations. The latest reports indicate that Russian forces managed to take full control over the rest of the settlement, which suggests that Ukrainian forces are dealing with shortages of material and personnel in a hotspot that previously they were able to hold for more than a year. The Russian offensive effort then aimed to expand their area of operation by attacking Stelmakhivka. However, these attempts were unsuccessful. The Ukrainian commander-in-chief, General Alexander Syrsky, noted recently that Russian forces concentrated their primary efforts, among other hotpoints, over Stelmakhivka and indicated that Russian troops made limited gains. Syrsky stated that Russian forces are attempting to exploit their advantages in air power, missiles, and artillery to reach the administrative borders of Luhansk Oblast. Geolocated footage recently released shows a Russian assault over a Ukrainian position in a tree line close to Stelmakhivka. The Russian infantry approached the position at high speed on two Chinese-made Desert Cross 1000 vehicles, also known as golf cars. The infantry unloaded and started to storm the position among heavy defensive fire. The video is inconclusive about the result of this particular assault, but the position was marked later as a marginal gain for the Russian forces. Regarding the northern part of the direction, as Russian forces redeployed some detachments to the Kharkiv offensive, Ukrainian troops capitalized on this by improving their positions near Synehubov, northeast of Kupiansk. A Russian mill blogger claimed that Russian forces had to retreat slightly from Synehubov due to personnel shortages, indicating that elements of the 6th Combined Arms Army had been pulled from the area. In recently released footage geolocated west of the village of Liman, Ukrainian border guards are seen operating mortars with extreme precision. The footage captures the guards methodically preparing and firing mortar rounds at Russian infantry positions. The last part of the video shows a pinpoint cluster munition attack over the Russian infantry, just close to the railway line. An additional video also from the village of Liman shows Ukrainian tank units engaging in combat from a closed firing position. The video captures the tank crew coordinating and executing the destruction of a Russian shelter, a makeshift hut used for cover by Russian forces. The tank, positioned behind natural cover, fires a high explosive round, obliterating the target. The resulting explosion sends debris flying, demonstrating the effective use of armored firepower to neutralize enemy positions and fortifications. A third video includes graphic scenes on drone operations by the 57th Army Brigade, showcasing its advanced drone capabilities. One sequence shows a drone operator skillfully navigating the drone over a dense forest canopy, identifying and eliminating hidden Russian forces. These drone operations emphasize the brigade's innovative tactics and technological edge in modern warfare. And as if this were not enough to undermine Russian offensive efforts, Ukrainian forces recently struck a Russian military training ground approximately 80 kilometers behind the front line in the rear of the occupied Luhansk region. Geolocated footage recently published indicates that Ukrainian forces targeted a training ground southwest of Synehubov, likely using 4 ATACMS, resulting in the reported deaths of at least 116 Russian personnel. The use of the very scarce and valuable ATACMS just after the confirmation of the US aid package approval indicates a Ukrainian high priority to undermine Russian offensive efforts in this direction. Russian mill bloggers have claimed that forces in Kyslivka are preparing for further attacks on Stepova-Novoselivka and immediately northwest of Kyslivka. Military analysts indicated that despite these preparations, Kyslivka is not part of a defensive line, but a Ukrainian bridgehead on Russian-held heights. Ukrainian defenses are positioned on the elevated areas west of Kyslivka, posing serious difficulties to further Russian advance. Overall, the situation in the region remains tense. If the Russians manage to make even incremental marginal advances, Ukrainian forces may gradually become confined against the Oskil River, making the defense of this area much more difficult. In addition, the different developments described for the Kupiansk front must also be put in the context of the recent Russian offensive in Kharkiv. Different military analysts continue to believe that given the forces initially committed, the Kharkiv direction offensive can be considered a distraction axis, while the Kupiansk axis could be considered a support axis for efforts further south, particularly towards Slovyansk and Pokrovsk. These directions aim to advance towards complete control of the Donetsk region and could be the primary objective of the expected Russian summer offensive. In this perspective, both Russian offensives in the Kharkiv and Kupiansk regions would be nothing more than preparatory efforts to stretch the front line and divert valuable Ukrainian resources from the Donetsk region. In any case, the imminent arrival of US aid at the front is expected to help Ukrainian forces address current material constraints and blunt ongoing Russian offensive operations. Furthermore, this support is expected not only to enhance immediate operational effectiveness, but also to contribute to the long-term stabilization and security of the region. If you're against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I am doing, consider making a purchase in the online store UA Supporter. Here you can find a lot of products with Ukrainian symbols to not only show your support for this channel, but also for Ukraine. The link to the online store is in the description. Thank you for watching this report, and I will see you in the next one.